Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, which is included in my bio. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll chat again soon. What I'd love to do today is introduce you to my most beautiful city of Sydney. As you can see, it's pre-sunrise, it's dark in the west, and it's a bright orange in the east. It promises to be an awesome sunrise. And what I'd like to do today is just do something a little bit different. Last week I went to a movie. I went to a movie in Leichhardt at the Palace Theatre, and the movie was entitled Eftychia. And it's the second time that I've watched this movie. The first time was in Greece back in December 2019, around about Christmas time, just before COVID hit. And my wife and I and my wife's sister Elpida went to the movies to watch this movie, and it was an absolutely magnificent documentary on the life and times of a woman, an invisible woman known as Eftychia Papagiannopoulou. Eftychia Papagiannopoulou was a lyricist who was born in 1893 and passed away in 1972. But she became famous after her death. It's just amazing that women in earlier times were invisible, even though they were creative. They were leaders in their field and were very influential to the genre of music that happened in Greece around about World War I, World War II. And Eftychia is credited with over 200 songs. But interestingly, we will never ever know how many songs she actually put pen to paper on were her creations, because many of those songs have been appropriated by other artists, and it's because of the times. Eftychia, and it's a long story, so I'll just try and pace through it as best I can. As I say, I'm not an authority on music, but having watched the movie for the second time, I was able to pick up on a number of things. So just going back in time, so the movie commences with a scene from Turkey back in 1922, because Eftychia was born in Zmidni in Asia Minor, and in 1922 the Greeks were expelled from Turkey during that World War I time frame. And many of them were forced to leave their homes, their families, their work, their periusias, their fortunes, their investments, and start a new life again back in Greece. So Eftychia, with her mother and two daughters, travelled to Athens, where they met up with her husband. Eftychia was married to a man 20 years her senior. It was an arranged marriage, and obviously in this case with her, it was a marriage that was unfulfilling. But the man that she married was the father of her 2 daughters, and they came to Athens to start a life afresh and anew. Eftychia was a woman who was educated and was a teacher. But with the migration to Athens back in those times, where many people were expelled from Turkey, starting a new life in Athens wasn't easy. So of course, there were the financial challenges, and to add to those financial challenges, Eftychia wanted to pursue a career in theatre, which is never a high-paying profession for most people. So Eftychia had the gift of education. She loved reading. She loved digging deeper to find greater meaning in life. And she was an intense personality with a very, very strong purpose. And her inspiration for writing songs and for becoming a lyricist came from when she was on the boat, being expelled from Smyrna under tremendous pressure, fear, anxiety, and having doubt about her future. She heard somebody on the ship singing a song, a melancholic, a very, very sad song. And that, plus her feelings, inspired her to pen some lyrics. I forget which song it inspired. I'd have to watch the movie one more time. But that was the beginning of her journey, one could say, as a lyricist, and was the beginning, I guess, of the treasure that most of us are able to enjoy through her songs. I guess the interesting thing, the real powerful thing for me, is that Eftychia was a woman who was penning songs, was giving a female, a woman's perspective at a time where we were living in a man's world. That must never, ever be, I guess, misinterpreted or not given the value, the tremendous value that it deserves. Because to be a woman, to be writing lyrics, to be creating a female and offering a female perspective in a world that was dominated by men, in a world that was dominated by fear, uncertainty and doubt, is absolutely tremendous. Because as we say, Eftychia penned the lyrics to many, many great Greek folk songs and rebettika. And many of the songs that we hear could possibly be her writing, her interpretation, her worldview, a female perspective on the world. Because we all know better now than what we knew in times gone past, that men and women are very different. We have different feelings, we have different perspectives. We see the world through different eyes and through a different heart. Women, from what I understand, feel and express love much more, I guess, differently to men, and for that reason, the love songs that were penned, the feelings that she expressed during those tumultuous times in Greece, during World War I, World War II, and when the world was experiencing tremendous social change, is something that is highly valued and something that we should, I guess, respect, revere, and celebrate for as long as we live. Interestingly, Eftychia was recognized after her death, as we said before, and as the movie portrayed, she had a troubled life, as many people would have had back in those days, with poverty, trying to make ends meet, trying to bring up a family, trying to look after your mother, and trying to fit in to a changing world. So she would write her lyrics and sell them. She wouldn't wait to get the royalties from her lyrics. She would sell them in order to pay her bills and to make ends meet. But what her lyrics captured, and we'll go through some of the songs and some of the context, because what I loved most about the movie is it added context to her songs. It added context to many of the songs that many of us have grown up with, and I guess I love them even more knowing where they came from and what the story was behind those songs. Because the greatest lyrics in the world, the greatest stories in the world, the paths of heroes come through suffering, through pain and suffering. Because what it does is it enables us as humans, people who are teleological in nature, it enables us to find ourselves, to find who we are, to reveal our strengths, to conquer our fears. And Eftychia Papagiannopoulou, with her lyrics, with her beautiful, intense, deep lyrics, show to each and every one of us that through pain and suffering we can get meaning, deep meaning in life, profound meaning in life, and that we need to, what's the word I'm looking for? We need to embrace pain and suffering and to leverage it and to work with it and to surf it rather than to try and hide or run away from it. And that's what I loved about Eftychia. She was an intense person who knew what she wanted, but she accepted what life threw in her path and just kept on going. Just kept on moving, used it in a positive way to help her develop and to promote, to maintain and to grow her influence and her genre of music. So let's just go to the movie, and these are the key elements that I was able to extract. And talking about elements, my wife Paula, who enjoys singing and is part of a choir, the Orpheus Choir, where she gets together with people on a voluntary basis to sing and to put together concerts. She explained to me one day that music is an art form, and it has three separate, key and unique elements which I was unaware of. She says that it all starts with the lyrics, it all starts with the words, it all starts with a feeling. Just like poetry, lyricists are the people who are able to use their senses to see life, to feel life, to experience life, and to capture those moments in words. To capture those moments in words, to capture those moments that I guess we all feel, but we can't necessarily express. So a lyricist has the ability to see, feel, experience something, and to turn it, to capture it, and to turn it into a word form. And what happens is that once a lyricist is able to capture, poetically capture that feeling, then what they do is they collaborate, they team, they cooperate, they work with another person who has a separate set of skills, and they are musicians, composers. Sometimes they can be the same person, but generally they are different people. They are the composers, the people who are able to put a melody together, a tune together, to be able to express and leverage and capture that feeling that is trying to be portrayed in words. And then the third part of the puzzle, as my wife explained to me, is the performer or performers. So once we have the words, once we have the rhythm and the music which goes with those words, then the third element, unique element, is the performance. And that performance can either be through a band or a singer. And if a song takes off, if a song is made popular, it's usually the performer, the singer, who is recognized, and all of the others, I guess, carry on and are acknowledged sometimes by the people who are the experts in the industry. But for most part, most people will never ever know who the lyricist is. Most people will never know who the composer is, but may know the composer a little bit better than other people. But most people will generally only recognise and know the performer, the lead performer, as opposed to the entire performance team. So let's just go on and just identify a few songs which came from the movie and were written by Eftychia Papayonopoulou. As I said before, in the movie, she was married to a man 20 years her senior, an arranged marriage which wasn't working. So she fell in love again, or should I say, she fell in love for the first time with her second husband. And she penned some words for this feeling, for this experience, and it was brought to life by the music, by the song known as Ise I Zoimo, an upbeat song, I think sung by Kazadzidis and Marinella, but I could be wrong. But it is a song which I guess expressed the elation that she had of finding true love for the first time. one of the challenges that Eftychia had is that she had 2 daughters, but when she separated from her husband, her first husband, should I say, told her that he wouldn't offer her a divorce and that he would be keeping both children, to which she was able to negotiate with him to take one of the children and the other children would stay with him, but she would one day come back and reunite her other child into her family unit, because she said, and she always said, and I believe as well, that children need to be with their mother. Old-fashioned values, I guess, which today may be a little bit different. But she approached her husband and asked him for a divorce and custody of her eldest daughter, which he agreed with. And this, I guess, was the source of another song that she wrote, Peres Menes Mo Agapes, which was composed by Manolis Hiotis and sung by Marilinda and Hioti. So once again, another song which expressed, I guess, the elation that she felt when she was moving on in life, the ecstasy of knowing that she was going to be allowed to remarry and to reunite her 2 daughters. Like all people, our lives cover a certain path, and we have milestone elements, and we all tend to go through a similar sort of path. There is a part of the movie, a scene, where Eftychia's mother sadly passes away, but before she passes away, Eftychia pens the words to a song, a famous song that is sung by Stamatis Kokodas. It may have been sung by somebody before him, but it's a song that I love. It's a song that resonates with me, and I guess resonates with many people. It's the song called Onyiro Apatilo. And that song was penned to express the feelings that Eftychia went through at the death of her mother. It's a song that was composed by a gentleman known as Apostolos Galderas. Once again, he was the second element in that 3-element formula. Eftychia wrote the lyrics, Apostolos Galderas wrote or composed the music, and Stamatis Kokodas or somebody else sang the original song. The movie goes on, of course, and sadly, I think like most people will experience, or at least 1 in 2 in a marriage will experience, the passing or the death of a partner. And this song here was the source of another famous song from Eftychia, which was composed by Manolis Hadzidakis and sung by Pithikotsi. Ime Aitos Horis Tera. A wonderful song. Now, and what a lot of people say after that movie, they didn't realize that Eftychia had written so many famous songs that had captured our hearts. Then the movie moves on, and sadly, and I hope none of us get to experience this, is the death of a child. So her eldest daughter suddenly passed away, and that was the source of another song. entitled Dio Portes Echi Zoe. Life has two doors, a very sad song, which is sung by Gazajidi and others. But once again, it shows that to come up with meaningful, powerful lyrics, sadly, somebody needs to experience the immense pains that life gives us in bite-sized chunks, of course. But her life was indeed very troubled. She turned to gambling in order to try and soothe and to nurture and to cope with these challenges that she faced, these many challenges that she faced in life, which is remarkable on reflection. And in terms of finishing off the movie, on reflection of her life, one of the songs that finished up was the famous song that I think Dolores sings as well as others, I Fantasiamo, which once again reflects and talks about the fact that everybody lives a different past, everybody lives a different present. I am here, you are there, and everybody's going to live a different future. And regardless of the plans that we all individually have, we are all going to have a very different life. And as we said, we have different plans, but life has different, and God has a different plan to what we have. So I guess one of the themes of the movie is to live your life, to accept your life, to do the best with what you have and when you can, and to not fight life. That's what I love most about Eftychia, is she didn't fight life. She had a purpose, she was on a mission, she did what she could, as she could, and didn't fight, didn't struggle with life, just went with the flow and made the most and created the most meaning with things along the way. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. You know, it's a tricky sort of topic. As I say, I'm not an authority on music, I'm not a movie critic, but this movie, which I watched with my wife for the second time at the Palace Theatre there on Norton Street in Leichhardt, it was the opening night of the Greek Film Festival, and I got to see lots of people that I haven't seen for a while due to COVID over the past couple of years, and it was great to be out and about and to celebrate a wonderful, wonderful woman who was indeed a leader in a field. She was a leader in her field during a time when men ruled the world. So it makes it even more important. It makes it even more special to know that Eftychia rose to the top and did what she did at a time when it would have been very, very difficult for a woman to stand out in a man's world. Anyway, take care everybody. Yassas, have a great day, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.